Hi, I'm Mayce.
And I'm Missy.
We're best friends
and business partners. And each week, we're going to bring you a quote that inspires us, and we're going to talk about it.
Join us as we break down our favorite impactful messages for leadership and share how you can apply them to lead with confidence and purpose.
Get ready for a fun and authentic journey into leadership, life, and everything in between.
Well, hey there, bestie.
Hey, bestie. Good to see you. It's time for another episode of Impactful Messages. Let's talk about it.
Yes, always a good Tuesday when we get to record.
It absolutely is. Well, I say let's get right into it and introduce our guest for this week's quote, Mayce.
Yes, so this week we are saying welcome to Jeff Beardsley. So Jeff, welcome to the show.
Welcome. We're so glad you're here.
We are so glad you're here. So what we want you to do, Jeff, if you don't mind, is go ahead and share with our guests about you. What is it that you do? What do you want our listeners to know about you? And then we will share today's quote.
Okay. Yeah, that's a loaded question for me, right? So what do you want to know about me? What I really like to do is like to talk about my daughters more than anything. For a lot better off than I am. But my name's Jeff Beardsley, like I was introduced. Head of operations for a company called Hennica in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I have a very weird background. Started off in the computer-aided drafting world with a 2-year degree. Did a lot of that throughout my life. Went back to school while my wife and I were raising our kids to get my engineering degree and then my MBA. Okay. So I went away from the drafting world and got into the management side of things because I'm like, instead of me being an engineer, why don't I just, manage people, because that seems to be what I'm better at doing.
Jeff, and this is going to come out of left field. It's just a curiosity question. When you did drafting, was it, and I don't want to assume how old you are, but this will tell you how old we are. Was it pen to paper drafting?
So I am trained that way. Yes,
okay.
That is how my school was. When I left school, they were transitioning, no more board drafting.
Yeah.
So yes, if you ask me how to divide a line into 7 segments, I can do that.
Love it.
Bisect the line. Yeah. So I remember all those tricks.
Yeah. Very good. Cool. Very good. Okay. So let's share this week's quote. And it is, when people are financially invested, they want a return. When people are emotionally invested, they want to contribute.
Ooh,
that was Simon Sinek. Yes, it's a good one. So Jeff and Mayce, let's talk about it. Jeff, what comes to mind when you hear this quote?
Myself, really. Early in my career, I was financially motivated, right? You move jobs for more money. The older I got, I wanted that more emotional connection, right? So it's not so much about the money. It's like, what am I contributing and what am I being part of that's bigger than me?
Yeah, I love that. Miss, can I go?
Yeah.
Next? And
yes,
then
of
you could share.
course.
So, it's interesting that we would choose like a financial quote because our listeners know, if they've ever listened, like, we're not math girls, right? Not Alexa math, not Siri math, not pen to paper math. Like, there is no math. But I do think it's interesting because obviously we talk a lot about leadership here. And when we go into organizations to train, a lot of them want to know, like, how am I going to know if what you're providing in leadership is going to have a return on my investment? And when you train leadership, you don't really know, at least you're not going to know right away that this is a contributing factor. But when you take a step back and you look at that emotional investment, Jeff, just like you said, like, when someone is emotionally tied to a mission or an outcome, their buy-in and their trust increases
so much,
which is how you're going to be able to tell what your leadership looks like. When you have more buy-in, have more trust, you have greater leadership because you have greater influence. So that's why I like this, not the financial investment part, because that doesn't ring, common sense
Yeah.
with the emotional.
Can I add something before Missy jumps in?
Sure.
Of course.
So you hit on something, and that was, what is that ROI on a leadership?
Yeah.
So being a leader, your ROI is more leaders you create.
Yes.
I love that.
I love that. And we're going to steal that,
much.
Jeff. When someone says to us, how are we going to be able to tell? Missy's even writing it down. That's how good it is.
That is so good.
And I really do think that that is such a valuable piece of information for anyone that's listening, that's thinking about, like, is this going to work? Whatever this is, right? It could be having my team read a book or bring in a trainer or even a Monday morning huddle. Like, how do I know if this is working? Well, Jeff just told you it works if you're able to multiply your leadership. Love that.
That is fantastic. When I think about the quote, I go back to the old teaching days, right? I go back to the fact that, my paychecks were crummy, to be honest. Whoever's listening out there, if you can increase teachers' pay, they need it. But y'all, it didn't matter. I was so emotionally invested into what we did. I was so bought in. The ROI that they got on me and my little crew of folks who were literally, I'm not exaggerating, before school would start, we would work into the wee hours of the morning, making sure our room was ready for our kids.
Yeah.
And so you can't buy what you can get when people are emotionally invested. There's no money for it.
Yeah, 1000%. So we know that companies are looking for their people to show up and do work, right? Like, that's a requirement. You show up and you do your job. But we also know that there's a difference between those who are compliant and those who are committed. And we've even talked about it here in the show before. So Jeff, what do you think the difference is between when someone is compliant versus when someone is committed? Like, what do you see?
When they're committed, they come in early, right? They're not here for just 8 hours, right?
Yeah.
They're doing what they need to do. And what I always say is life and work intertwine. So sometimes you have to do work outside of work time.
Sure.
And those people are more willing to do that type of thing.
They go the extra mile, right? They stay late, they get there early.
They do, but I don't just want to focus on that, right? Because that's just part of it. Being committed is you also are seeing like the bigger picture of everything. You understand what you do. Like where I'm currently at, I always tell people we're in the business of comfort. I stole that from an engineer that's been here for a very long time, who's still here. He's, past retirement age, but we make products. We make machines that make products for comfort. So if they understand that is what brings people the commitment to the work.
I love that.
Yeah.
So when most people think about that committed team member, they think they're bought in, which I think we've really talked about that. So Jeff, why do some leaders struggle to create that buy-in with their team, that commitment, so to speak?
There's probably a bunch of reasons, but the one that I always go to first is, do you know your team? Are you doing that?
Yes, you are speaking our language. Preach.
So, I make it a point that everybody knows me inside and outside of work, right? I want to know people inside and outside of the work environment, because you never know what somebody's going through. So if you're understanding of them and support them, it makes life a whole lot better in the work environment.
So I'm going to ask you this question, Jeff, just because people that have been listening or clients that work with us, they know that we preach on this. So I just want to get your opinion. Then a lot of leaders in blue collar struggle with the connection because it's very touchy-feely.
Touchy-feely.
You're saying, no, I want someone to know me inside and out, and I want to know them inside and out. So from your leadership perspective, then, someone's listening to this and they struggle with that. No, I want boundaries. I don't want to know what they did over the weekend. How would you help a leader overcome that?
Well, that leader is not going to grow any if they're not open to a new way of thinking, number one.
Yeah.
So you have to really find commonality between yourself and the person. And I always tell everybody, if you raise kids, it's a whole lot easier to manage people, because each kid has a different personality. Each employee has a different personality.
Yeah.
And what they want right now, they don't want next week, next year, next month. So you got to keep that communication open, but finding that commonality, something, right? Like, I mean, my dad and my brother run a construction company in my hometown. So like, that's kind of how I grew up. Those guys either hunt, fish, work on cars. There's something, right, that you can find that you have commonality with. Especially with kids in sports, like find something
easy. Yeah, that's an easy one.
You find one little thing and that just sends it away. That was my trick. And when I did my undergrad and grad degree, I found a little thing with each professor.
So simple. And I wish like that they would even do that in school today, right? That would anywhere in any industry. Okay. Going back to the buy-in, we were just talking about a few minutes ago. Buy-in obviously has a lot to do with trust and loyalty, but what else, and we may have just talked about it, so I'll see how you answer, but what else creates loyalty besides money or besides like, well, we have benefits here in medical and 401k, right? So how else can you get buy-in besides the obvious?
I will tell you what works for me is transparency.
So good.
Vulnerability, authenticity.
Like I need the transparency. If there's no transparency, you're not going to get my loyalty.
Yeah.
So I'm only going by how I feel.
No, I love that.
I try to trickle that down. I'm very transparent. Sometimes that's not good.
Yeah.
But I want people to understand what's going on.
Yeah. Okay, so we have our thoughts on this and we'll share, but we wanted to know from you, like, what role does recognition play in getting people to contribute at a higher level?
Yeah, you're probably asking the wrong guy on that one. And here's why, because I don't need recognition. I'm very comfortable with what I'm doing.
You don't need it.
But as a leader.
That's why I said, like, I've never needed it. I've never needed anybody to tell me I'm doing a good job. Because I'm here to do a job. That's what I'm hired to do. So I come in and I do the best I can. But not everybody works that way.
That's right.
Missy's like, I have so much I want to say.
So, and this is one of the points where I've struggled with over my career, and I really am cognitive and really pay attention to this. Of when somebody does something a little bit outside their job, that I have to go and say, hey, I really like that you called this person to try to, chew them down in price, or whatever you want to call that. So.
Well, it goes back to what you said. You have to know your people. They want to be known. I was going
to say something
right?
very similar.
And so when you know them and you know that recognition is a part of what they need, and you give it to them, they're going to have that greater buy-in. And there's a saying, and Jeff, if you struggle with this, I'm going to challenge you to write it out and put it somewhere you can see it, that oftentimes people will work harder for recognition than they will their paycheck. They want to be seen. They want their contributions to be seen.
But I think it does go back, Missy, to what you were saying. And then again, that's the piggyback of what Jeff said earlier, is that if you know your people, like Jeff, if your boss comes to you and they're like, attaboy, you're so great, la, 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 you're going to be like, that's kind of inauthentic, right? Like if you don't like that, you almost think it's inauthentic because that's not what you like. But when you know your people and you're like, okay, I've got to know that, Bob loves recognition. So, and you also have to know then public recognition or private recognition.
Yes, I was just about to say there.
They don't want public recognition, but they'll take a pat on the back all day long in private.
And generally, it's not because they want the spotlight. I'm one who needs recognition, but I want it because I want to make sure I'm pleasing the person, the leader, the team, not because I want to be the spotlight. As a matter of fact, I really don't love public recognition, but I do like people to acknowledge what I've done, recognize it, because that's what fuels me and grows my buy-in for that. I'll never forget a quick story. I was educator of distinction at my school one year, and they did this crazy thing. Our PTA did Missy Washam week, and they
oh my God, that's mortifying.
It was so mortifying. And every morning on the loudspeaker, they would say today, and they would spotlight something about what I had done. And y'all, I needed like medication by the end of the week. It wore me out. I didn't like it. But if a parent came up to me and would say something, that just made it so endearing to me. But I did not love Missy Washam week.
Yeah, no, I don't know who would really like that, but maybe there are people. Okay,
there are people who would like it.
So we talked earlier about commitment versus compliance. So what do you think about people taking ownership versus just feeling obligated? So how would you relate ownership versus obligation?
I mean, the obligation is the task that you have to get done. The ownership is taking the responsibility for the outcome of the task.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. Just letting that sink in a minute. Okay, so going back to the quote then, when people are financially invested, they want to return. When people are emotionally invested, they want to contribute. How does emotional investment affect productivity? Is that good investment or lack thereof, right? Like, how does it all work when someone's emotionally invested?
I mean, you can tell on a job site anywhere, right? If how people are interacting with each other. The emotions are good, jovial, everybody's joking around, things are getting done, people are, really happy. Or, you could be in a situation where the company's not doing well, or there's, secrets being held. People aren't telling you what's going on. Everybody's on edge and they're trying to control their little world because they don't want to lose their job. So each of those situations have an effect on the business. And that's what a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
So you want to create the culture of like the camaraderie. Everybody's having a good time. We're getting the work done. So how do you do that? That's the hard part, right?
Yeah.
And the answer is that starts at the top.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
it does.
I can do my best for my team, but my team also sees the top in how they're acting.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, as we kind of wrap up, what do people, in your opinion, really want from that leadership, from the people at the top right now? What do they want?
That's a great question because I think everybody wants something different. Even some people want, pay. Some people want the recognition. Some people want the transparency of what's going on. Some people just want that top to get out of the way, stay out of the weeds, steer the ship. Like everybody wants something different.
Yeah.
So they can't give you a straight answer on that because
well, I think it goes back to the quote and it goes back to what we were saying. Like if you know your people, then you're going to know exactly what your people want and need from you. Well, listen, this was a great conversation. I think we are at a point where we can transition into the big takeaway for the week. So listeners, if you only take away one thing from this week's episode, let it be this. People may work hard for a paycheck, right? Missy had said that earlier, but they contribute at a higher level when they feel valued, connected, and really like a part of something that matters.
That's right, Mayce. And people don't give their best because they're told to, right? So with that in mind, leaders who create emotional investment, they don't just build a better culture, they build teams that actually care about the outcome.
So good. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for saying yes to being on our show today. If our listeners want to connect with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
LinkedIn. That's where I'm at the most.
Perfect. And we're going to put that in the show notes so they'll be able to find you. And of course, when the episode airs, we'll tag you on LinkedIn as well. This is a question that we ask of all of our guests. What is your favorite leadership quote?
So mine is just a snippet from a Donald Rumsfeld quote. You don't know what you don't know.
so good.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
It's such a good one. And it's so true, isn't
So
it?
simple.
So simple.
Yes.
It's so true.
Very good. And listeners, do you have a favorite leadership quote? Send it our way and we might spotlight it on a future episode.
We'll be back next week with another quote and more leadership insights. And you know what we're going to do?
We're gonna talk about it.
Bye,
Thank
Jeff.
you so much, Jeff.
Bye,
Thank you for having me.
Bye, bestie.
Bye. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying this show, please show us some love by clicking the 3 dots to download the podcast, leave us a 5-star rating on your podcast app, and talk about it with other leaders to help them find the show from any of the major podcast apps. We'd love for you to follow us on social media too. Mpactful with an M _ messages on Instagram and Mpactful Messages on LinkedIn.